Before war touched heaven, there was only peace. Not the fragile peace known on earth, the kind that can shatter with a single word, but a perfect harmony that had existed since the dawn of creation. Heaven was a realm beyond human imagination. Golden cities floated upon clouds of light. Endless fields of shining crystal stretched across horizons that never darkened. Rivers of living water flowed between mountains made of radiant stone. Angels filled the skies, millions upon millions of them. Some sang songs that shaped the fabric of creation itself. Others guarded the gates of eternity. Some carried messages between worlds. And above them all stood the throne of God. From it flowed a light so powerful that it filled heaven with life. Among all the angels, one shone brighter than the rest. His name was Lucifer, the morning star, the light bearer. He was the most beautiful angel ever created. His wings were vast and radiant like burning gold. His voice could calm storms of chaos. His wisdom surpassed even the oldest angels. When Lucifer walked through the halls of heaven, angels turned to watch him, not with envy, but with admiration. He was perfection, and for ages beyond counting, Lucifer served faithfully near the throne. But deep within his heart, something began to change. At first, the change was small, almost invisible, a whisper of a thought, a question. Why must all power belong to the throne? Why must heaven bow to one ruler forever? Lucifer began to look at heaven differently. He saw not perfection, but possibility. He began to speak quietly with other angels. Not openly, not yet, but in shadows between the pillars of heaven. What if heaven could become something greater? What if we were meant for more than obedience? Some angels ignored him. Some were confused, but others listened. And the more Lucifer spoke, the more his words spread, like a spark drifting through dry grass. For the first time since creation, division began to grow in heaven. Meanwhile, there was one angel who watched everything carefully. Michael, the Archangel of heaven, where Lucifer was beauty and brilliance. Michael was strength and loyalty. He was the defender of the throne, and he began to notice the whispers, the quiet conversations, the strange tensions spreading among the angels. One day Michael confronted Lucifer. The two greatest angels in all creation stood facing each other beneath the endless light of heaven. Something is changing, Michael said. Lucifer smiled calmly. Change is not always a threat, brother. Michael's voice was firm. You speak to angels in secret. Lucifer's wings shifted slowly. I speak of freedom. Michael's eyes hardened. Heaven is already perfect. Lucifer looked toward the distant throne. For some, silence fell between them. In that moment, Michael realized something terrifying. Lucifer was no longer questioning heaven. He was challenging it. And deep within the halls of eternity, the first shadows of war were beginning to form. But no one yet understood how far this would go. Soon, a third of heaven itself would choose sides. Soon, the skies of paradise would burn with battle. Soon, heaven would experience something it had never known before. War. And the day it began would echo through eternity. That day would become known as only one thing. The day heaven went to war. After his conversation with Michael, Lucifer understood one thing clearly. The time for whispers was ending. If heaven was ever to change, it would not happen through quiet questions anymore. It would require something far greater. Power. And followers. For ages Lucifer had walked among the angels as their most admired brother. Many trusted him. Many respected him. Some even believed he understood heaven better than anyone except the Creator himself. Now Lucifer began using that trust. But he moved carefully. Very carefully. He did not speak of rebellion at first. Instead, he spoke of destiny. Late in the endless evenings of heaven, when the choirs of angels rested and the golden halls grew quiet, Lucifer would gather small groups of angels. They met in distant parts of heaven, in silent gardens of crystal trees, on the edges of floating mountains where the stars could be seen forming new worlds. There Lucifer spoke with a voice that was calm, persuasive, and powerful. Have you ever wondered why heaven never changes? Why eternity must always follow the same order? Some angels were uncomfortable. Others were curious. Lucifer continued. We are not simple servants. We are beings of immense power. We shape stars. We guide worlds. We guard the gates of existence itself. His glowing wings would stretch wide across the sky. And yet, we bow forever. The idea was dangerous. Very dangerous. But Lucifer was brilliant. He never demanded loyalty. He inspired it. And slowly, very slowly, more angels began to gather around him. At first it was hundreds, then thousands, then millions. They were not evil angels. Not yet. Many of them simply believed Lucifer when he said heaven could become something greater. Some believed they deserved more power. Others believed they were helping bring a new future to creation. But there were also darker angels who joined him. Angels who had grown jealous. Angels who wanted influence. Angels who secretly admired Lucifer more than the throne itself. Among Lucifer's growing followers were powerful celestial beings, angels who commanded entire legions of heaven's armies. One by one, they pledged themselves to Lucifer, hidden from the throne, hidden from Michael, but not forever. Meanwhile, Michael was watching. The Archangel of War could feel something shifting in heaven. Angels who once stood proudly beside him now avoided his gaze. Some disappeared for long periods. Others whispered when he walked past. Heaven had never felt like this before. There was tension in the air, like the moment before lightning strikes. One evening, Michael stood at the edge of heaven's highest citadel and looked down upon the vast golden cities below. Gabriel approached him. The messenger archangel had also begun to notice the changes. "You feel it too," Gabriel said quietly. Michael nodded. "Heaven is dividing." Gabriel looked troubled. "That should be impossible." Michael answered with a single name. "Lucifer." Gabriel's wings shifted in shock. The morning star would never betray heaven. Michael looked toward the distant horizon where Lucifer often gathered angels. He already has. But even Michael did not yet understand the full truth. Lucifer had not gathered a few followers. He had gathered an army. Across heaven, secret meetings continued. Lucifer stood before thousands of angels on a floating plateau surrounded by stars. His voice carried like thunder across the endless sky. "The throne fears change. But we are the future of creation." Cheers erupted across the gathering. Angels raised their blazing wings. The light of their power illuminated the skies. And in that moment, Lucifer revealed the truth. "We will no longer bow." The words spread across heaven like wildfire. Within days, the impossible happened. 1/3 of all angels in heaven chose to follow Lucifer. Millions upon millions of celestial beings. Warriors, guardians, commanders, all standing behind the morning star. It was the greatest rebellion in the history of existence. But Lucifer believed something else. He believed the throne would not dare destroy them. He believed heaven would surrender. He believed he would become the new ruler of eternity. But he had forgotten one thing. Michael, the Archangel of War. And when Michael finally stood before the throne and spoke the words that would change heaven forever, the order was given. Prepare the armies. For the first time since creation, heaven would go to war. For the first time since the beginning of creation, heaven was preparing for battle. The golden cities were still shining. The rivers of light still flowed through the crystal valleys. But something had changed forever. The harmony of heaven had been broken. News of Lucifer's rebellion spread across the entire realm of angels like a shockwave. Millions had chosen his side. Millions more remained loyal to the throne. Heaven was no longer united. It was divided. At the center of heaven stood the throne, radiant beyond comprehension. Before it, the most powerful archangels of creation gathered. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. They stood in silence as the light of the throne filled the endless hall. Michael stepped forward. His wings, vast and blazing with divine fire, stretched across the chamber. His voice carried the weight of loyalty and sorrow. "Lucifer has gathered an army." The other archangels already knew. Gabriel spoke quietly. "1/3 of heaven stands with him." Even in heaven, the words felt impossible. Uriel lowered his gaze. "How did we not see this coming?" Michael answered with a heavy voice. "Because he was the brightest among us." Lucifer had not been some distant rebel. He had been their brother, their friend, the morning star. But now he had become something else. A challenger to heaven itself. Far away from the throne, Lucifer stood before his vast army of angels. They filled an entire sky of heaven. Millions of wings glowing like stars. Warriors of light who had once guarded eternity. Now they stood ready to fight it. Lucifer's voice echoed across the celestial horizon. "Today heaven will be reborn." His followers raised their weapons of divine light. Some held spears made of burning energy. Others carried swords that could tear through the fabric of reality itself. These were not mortal weapons. They were weapons of angels. Lucifer lifted his wings high. "We were created powerful, yet we live as servants." A roar of agreement shook the heavens. "But today, we claim our destiny." His army erupted into thunderous cheers. Across the distant skies, another army appeared. Michael's army, the loyal angels of heaven. Legions upon legions descended from the upper skies like falling stars. Their armor shone with divine fire. Their wings formed endless waves of light across the horizon. At their front stood Michael, the Archangel of War. He held a blazing sword forged by the power of heaven itself. When he spoke, his voice shook the skies. "Lucifer." The rebel angel turned slowly. For a moment, the two greatest angels ever created looked at each other across the battlefield. Lucifer smiled calmly. "Brother." Michael's eyes burned with sorrow and fury. It doesn't have to end like this. Lucifer spread his wings proudly. It already has. Silence fell across the armies. Millions of angels waited. The tension of eternity held in a single moment. Michael raised his sword. Lucifer summoned a blade of pure celestial fire. And then Michael spoke the words that would ignite the first war in heaven. Who is like God? It was both a question and a declaration. The loyal angels roared behind him. Lucifer answered with a cold voice. Soon, everyone. And then, the sky exploded with light. The two armies collided. Angels crashed into each other like living meteors. Swords of divine fire clashed. Energy tore through the heavens. The sound of battle echoed across eternity. Never before had heaven witnessed such destruction. Angels who had once sung together now fought each other with unimaginable power. Entire clouds of heaven shattered under the force of battle. Lightning storms of celestial energy ripped through the skies. Some angels fell from the heavens like burning stars. Others rose again to continue the fight. At the center of the battlefield, Michael and Lucifer finally faced each other. Their swords collided with a shockwave that shook all of heaven. Light burst across the sky like a second sun. Lucifer attacked with terrifying speed. Michael blocked with unstoppable strength. Their battle was unlike anything creation had ever seen. Two of the most powerful beings ever made. Brother against brother. Light against light. But deep within the chaos of war, something darker was beginning to awaken inside Lucifer. Something that would soon transform him forever. And before the war ended, heaven itself would change forever. Because the battle had only just begun. The war had begun. Across the endless skies of heaven, millions of angels clashed in a battle unlike anything creation had ever witnessed. Blazing swords collided. Spears of celestial energy tore through the air. Entire clouds of light shattered under the force of angelic armies colliding. The songs of heaven had been replaced by the thunder of war. But at the very center of the battlefield, all eyes turned toward two figures. Michael and Lucifer, the two greatest angels ever created. Their duel would decide the fate of heaven. Their swords struck again. A shockwave of pure energy exploded across the sky, forcing nearby angels to retreat from the incredible force of their power. Lucifer moved with terrifying speed. His wings flashed like lightning as he struck again and again. Every attack carried the strength of the morning star. Michael blocked each strike with unwavering strength. His sword burned with divine light as he pushed Lucifer back. "You were the greatest among us," Michael said, his voice filled with sorrow. Lucifer's eyes burned with cold fire. "And I still am." He attacked again. Their swords collided with such power that the sky itself seemed to crack with light. Far below them, the battle of angels raged like a storm. Entire legions collided. Armies of light clashed in waves across heaven. Some angels fell from the skies, their wings burning as they plunged into the distant void below heaven. Others rose higher into the battlefield, refusing to surrender. But none of them could ignore the duel unfolding above them. Michael swung his blazing sword in a powerful arc. Lucifer blocked it, but the impact sent a massive shockwave across the battlefield. For a moment, Lucifer was forced backward. His wings trembled slightly. Michael looked at him. "You can still stop this." Lucifer laughed softly. "You still don't understand." His voice grew darker. "Heaven needs a new ruler." In an instant, Lucifer unleashed a surge of power. A storm of celestial fire burst from his wings and rushed toward Michael like a tidal wave of energy. Michael raised his sword. The divine blade absorbed the attack, exploding into radiant light that illuminated the battlefield like a new sun. Angels across heaven paused for a moment, watching the impossible battle between the two archangels. Lucifer descended toward Michael with unstoppable force. Their swords collided again, and again, and again. Each strike sent waves of energy across heaven. But slowly, something began to change. Lucifer's attacks were becoming more violent, more chaotic. His light was changing. The radiant golden glow that once surrounded him began to flicker. Dark shadows formed around his wings. His power was no longer pure. It was becoming something else. Something dangerous. Michael saw it immediately. "Lucifer, what have you done?" Lucifer's voice echoed with fury. "I have embraced what heaven fears." Dark energy began swirling around him. His once perfect wings flickered between light and shadow. The angels watching the battle felt something they had never experienced before. Fear. Lucifer raised his sword and attacked with overwhelming force. The blow struck Michael with tremendous power, sending the Archangel of War crashing through the clouds of heaven. For the first time in the battle, Michael had been pushed back. Lucifer hovered in the sky above the battlefield. His wings stretched wide. His voice thundered across heaven. "Look at your defender now." Some of the rebel angels cheered. They believed the battle was turning in their favor. But deep within the clouds below, Michael rose again. His sword still burned with divine light. His wings spread across the sky like blazing fire, and his voice echoed across the battlefield with unstoppable strength. This war is not over. He shot upward like a meteor of pure light. The two archangels collided once again. But now the battle was changing. Lucifer was becoming something darker, something more powerful, something that heaven had never seen before. And the final outcome of the war was drawing closer. Soon, the moment would come when Lucifer would fall. And when that moment arrived, heaven would never be the same again. The battle between Michael and Lucifer had reached its most dangerous moment. Across the skies of heaven, the war still raged. Millions of angels clashed in storms of blazing light. Spears of celestial energy flew across the battlefield. The golden clouds of heaven trembled beneath the force of the war. But everything now depended on one fight. Michael versus Lucifer, the Archangel of War, and the former morning star. High above the battlefield, Lucifer hovered in the air, surrounded by dark and unstable energy. His once perfect light was fading. The radiant golden glow that once made him the most beautiful angel in heaven had begun to twist into something darker. His wings flickered between light and shadow. His eyes burned with furious pride. Michael rose slowly through the clouds below, his sword blazing brighter than ever. For a moment, the entire battlefield seemed to pause. Even the armies of angels looked toward the sky. They knew something historic was about to happen. Michael stopped several hundred meters from Lucifer. The two archangels faced each other one final time. Lucifer spoke first. "You see it now, don't you?" Michael said nothing. Lucifer continued. "Heaven fears power." His voice grew colder. "But I have embraced it." Michael's eyes were filled with sorrow. "You were never meant to rule heaven." Lucifer's wings spread wide across the sky. "I was meant to surpass it." Suddenly Lucifer attacked with overwhelming force. He shot forward like a blazing comet of dark energy. His sword struck Michael with terrifying power. The collision sent a massive shockwave across heaven. But this time, Michael did not fall. Instead, he stood his ground. The light of his sword grew brighter, brighter than it had ever been. Lucifer attacked again, and again, and again. But now Michael was pushing him back. Lucifer's strikes were powerful but chaotic. Michael's strikes were precise, focused, unbreakable. Slowly, Lucifer began losing ground. For the first time since the war began, fear flickered in the eyes of the morning star. Michael raised his sword high above his head. His voice thundered across heaven. "Lucifer." The battlefield fell silent. "This rebellion ends now." Lucifer roared with fury and launched one final attack. Their swords collided in a blinding explosion of light. But this time, Michael's power was stronger. A burst of divine energy surged through the battlefield. Lucifer's sword shattered. The force of the impact tore through his wings. For a moment, Lucifer hung in the air, stunned. The morning star, the greatest angel ever created, had been defeated. Michael lowered his sword slowly. It did not have to end this way. Lucifer looked down at the battlefield below. His army was losing. The loyal angels of heaven were pushing the rebels back across the skies. The rebellion had failed. But Lucifer did not show regret. Instead, he smiled. "If I cannot rule heaven." His voice grew darker than anything ever heard in heaven before. "Then I will rule what comes after it." Michael raised his sword one final time. The light of heaven erupted around him. "Then you will no longer belong here." With one powerful strike, Michael unleashed a wave of divine force. The energy struck Lucifer directly. The former morning star was hurled backward through the skies of heaven. Faster and faster he fell, his wings burning, his light collapsing. Behind him, millions of rebel angels were cast down as well. The sky of heaven opened like a gateway, and the fallen angels were thrown out of paradise, cast into the endless void below creation. For the first time since the dawn of existence, an angel had fallen, and the greatest of them all had become something else entirely. No longer Lucifer the morning star. Now, he would become known by another name, Satan, and the place where he fell would soon become known as only one thing, hell. But the story of that fall was not yet finished, because as Lucifer descended into the darkness below creation, something terrifying was about to be born. Lucifer was falling. Faster and faster he descended through the endless darkness beneath heaven. The light of paradise faded above him like a distant star. Around him, millions of rebel angels were falling as well, cast out of heaven by the power of the throne. Their wings burned with broken light. Their voices echoed in fear and fury as they plummeted through the void. Never before had angels experienced such a thing. They had always lived in light, in harmony, in eternity. Now they were falling into something unknown, into darkness. Lucifer's wings struggled against the violent storm of energy surrounding him. The divine light that once filled his body was collapsing. His perfect form twisted as the power of heaven abandoned him. Pain surged through his being. It was a pain angels were never meant to feel. The morning star screamed. The sound echoed across the emptiness beneath creation. One by one, the fallen angels crashed into the abyss below. A barren realm. Cold. Dark. Empty. A place that had never been touched by heaven's light. Lucifer struck the ground with tremendous force. The impact sent waves of dark energy across the wasteland. For a long moment, everything was silent. The fallen angels slowly rose from the ground around him. They looked different now. Their wings were damaged. Their once radiant light had dimmed. Some glowed with faint red embers. Others with flickers of shadow. They were no longer the angels of heaven. Something inside them had changed. Lucifer slowly stood. The morning star was gone. His wings had darkened. The golden light that once surrounded him had become a deep, burning crimson. His eyes glowed like fire in the darkness. The fallen angels looked at him. They were lost, confused, terrified. One of them spoke. "What is this place?" Lucifer looked around at the endless wasteland. A cold smile appeared on his face. "This," his voice echoed across the empty realm, "is where we begin again." The ground beneath them began to shake. The energy of millions of fallen angels was changing the very nature of the void itself. Dark storms formed across the sky. Mountains of black stone rose from the ground. Rivers of molten fire burst through the cracked earth. The realm itself was transforming. It was becoming something new, something terrible. Lucifer raised his wings and looked toward the distant point of light, where heaven still shone far above. His voice carried across the burning landscape. "They cast us out." The fallen angels gathered around him. Their anger was growing. Their pain was turning into rage. Lucifer continued. But they made a mistake. Flames erupted from the ground behind him. The wasteland of darkness was becoming a kingdom of fire and shadow. "This will not be our prison." His eyes burned with hatred as he stared toward heaven. "This will be our empire." The fallen angels began to rise into the dark skies of their new world. Their forms changed further. Their wings became jagged and dark. Their light twisted into fire. They were no longer angels. They were becoming something else. Something heaven had never seen before. Demons. Lucifer stood upon a mountain of black stone as the fires of the new realm burned around him. The first kingdom of hell had been born, and at its center stood its king, Lucifer, the fallen morning star, the first ruler of hell. But even as he built his new kingdom, Lucifer made a silent promise. One day, he would challenge heaven again, and the war between heaven and hell would never truly end. The war in heaven had ended. The skies of paradise slowly returned to silence. The shattered clouds of battle faded. The storms of celestial fire disappeared. But heaven was no longer the same. Millions of angels had fallen. The morning star, once the most beautiful and powerful of all angels, had been cast out forever. The great rebellion was over. Yet the memory of that war would remain for eternity. Michael stood on the edge of heaven, looking down toward the distant darkness far below creation, far beneath the light of paradise. A new realm burned. Hell, the kingdom of the fallen. Gabriel approached him quietly. "Is it finished?" he asked. Michael remained silent for a moment. Then he slowly shook his head. "No." Gabriel looked toward the distant red glow rising from the abyss. Lucifer had not been destroyed. He had only fallen. And now he ruled a kingdom built from fire, darkness, and rage. The fallen angels had become demons, and their hatred for heaven burned stronger with every passing moment. Deep within hell, Lucifer stood upon a massive throne of black stone. Rivers of fire flowed through the dark kingdom below him. The fallen angels gathered around their new ruler. Their forms had changed completely. Their wings were twisted shadows. Their once radiant light had become burning crimson. Lucifer gazed upward toward the distant point of light, where heaven still existed far above the universe. His voice was quiet, but filled with hatred. "They believe the war is over." The demons around him listened carefully. Lucifer's eyes burned like eternal flames. But this, he spread his dark wings across the burning skies of hell, was only the beginning. The demons roared in agreement. Lucifer continued. "One day, creation itself will face its greatest battle." He raised his hand toward the distant heavens. Not just angels, not just demons, but the entire universe. Across hell, storms of fire rose into the sky. Lucifer's voice echoed through the burning kingdom. "And when that day comes, heaven will fall." Far above in heaven, Michael still watched the distant darkness. Deep inside, he knew something. Lucifer had not surrendered. The rebellion had only changed shape. And one day, the war would return. The final war. A battle that would decide the fate of heaven, hell, and all creation. A war that prophets would speak about for ages. A war that would shake the universe itself. But that story belongs to another time. Because long before the final war, there was a single day that changed eternity forever. The day when angels turned against angels. The day the morning star fell. The day heaven itself trembled. The day that would forever be remembered as only one thing. The day heaven went to war.